So you got the mellow mama this morning. However, there's always the mama bear. Now, I've stepped away from a lot of the HIV movement, which has become an industry. It's not a movement. A movement is a collective group of people who agree, adhere to certain principles and values and work towards a common goal. I really have to catch my breath because I've been a volunteer, I've been an educator, peer support, you name it. I've pretty much been involved in many aspects of the HIV and AIDS world in Canada. And unfortunately, it has become the industry. So the industry needs evidence. So I am that evidence. I am data for government. I am data for any organization that I sign up with a membership for. Now I'm going to speak specifically about my membership because I think that a lot of people really want to see the best in what their membership has brought them. However, there's always another side to it. In British Columbia, I'm going to say that we have a very corrupt culture in the AIDS industry. More specifically in the Aboriginal AIDS organizations, as well as non-Aboriginal AIDS organizations. For the non-Aboriginal organizations, as an Aboriginal woman, I am a cash cow because there are lots of monies out there for Aboriginal peoples, but no Aboriginal AIDS service organizations, which doesn't make any sense. So the government's really dropping the ball federally on Aboriginal people as a whole on and off reserve. We have no Aboriginal strategies that have been implemented. They're sitting on a shelf, ultimately in every province that have created an Aboriginal AIDS strategy. If you don't know that your province has one, please speak to the old timers because they know what's been created in their province, because a lot of us, we're the only ones willing to step up and do that work, which most of it was voluntary. Okay. There's no money in activism. Let me get this straight. And if you're making money, if you have a career working in the AIDS industry, that sets us apart. You're not an ally to me. You are a paid staff, and this has been contracted out to your organization, the care, treatment, and support of people living with HIV. Unfortunately, we are filled once again with this culture of corruption. We have an old boys club that don't want to give up their salaries, their positions of power, or their influence. I'll tell you that one Aboriginal AIDS organization in Toronto had their president, or I guess chair, board of directors, break into their office and underhandedly fired an executive director. That executive director never did nothing to call the police, didn't report it. So basically membership just thinks that, oh, business as usual. Yes, a man did this, committed this crime. And because of the power and influence he has, people are drinking his Kool-Aid. They think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And he's nothing more than a bully and a crook. The CEO of some of these organizations use us just enough to get that little bit more money coming through. And I'm just done with it. I can't deal with it anymore. I can't deal with the nepotism. People still honestly, willingly ignore the fact that they had a hand in bringing justice to healing her spirit. The Claudette Cardinals and the Alan Lennys and the Laurie McDonalds and the BBs and the, Alfred Jeffries. They just move on to the next people that will give them money. And I'm mentioning those specific names because they were all part of the dissolving of a provincial organization and have not accounted for about $1 million. Not only that, but the executive director before that had several improprieties and should not even have been allowed to work this long. A lot of our men that are running this organization are predators, haven't been healed, and hate women. And I've seen this happen because the last CAN AGM I was at, the women, a long time ago, we created a standing committee, okay? Which means it can't be shut down, can't be thrown away, specifically for women. Monique Fong, who holds that portfolio for women, was told that she couldn't have this meeting, which is the standing committee of CAN, at last year's AGM. And to be really honest, a lot of people didn't even know the history of it or how it started. So some people are giving credit where credit isn't due. And Monique actually had to pull money out of her own pockets to have this meeting. And I'm glad she did, because what happened with that standing committee is all the women that were on that standing committee were all handpicked and plucked and got excited because we got this Visioning Health research dollars that help somebody get their academia. So all of the women basically left this standing committee to work in research. And that's wrong, because our women need our voices. And the community-based research, I'm going to say, that's being done in Indigenous communities is deeply flawed. There are people out there who say that, oh, we empower women, but they're still making us use our own money to get to places by not trusting us, period. Making us spend time with really unhealthy people who are supposed to be cultural keepers and safe people. Unfortunately, there is a culture of sexual unhealthiness as well, and I can't be part of that. There are some things I can't even speak to because they're really gross, just gross. And I can't put myself there anymore. I see people that are trying to change things. But with the existing leaders we have, things are not going to get better. We have to actually have a new generation of people come in and change things. And I have hope for that. I hope that the individuals who are taking our T cells stop. You don't deserve any more from us, especially if you're making money. Anyways, I have so much more to say. I have a box of documents that are very disturbing. One CEO had a board bury some improprieties, things that you wouldn't get away with now. And this was all in the interest of keeping his position, you know. And a lot of people don't know the history of how CAN, Healing Her Spirit, and Red Road basically just swapped jobs. I mean, how can you be the president of an organization and then become the executive director of that organization without that job being posted? And this is exactly what happened. Yeah, it's not a legal process. But I think what's happened is there has been a lot of fear created that, ooh, if we don't have this money, and if we shake the boat, and if we get rid of the wrong people, or we get rid of this person, something bad's going to happen. And, you know, they've just really tapped into our collective consciousness of don't tell, don't feel, don't ask. And if you're healed, you don't fall for that bullshit. You know, you do what's right. You stand tall and you speak up against the corruptions. And as far as I know, I'm standing alone because there's so many fucking sellouts. And I hate to say it, but my brothers and my sisters, you know, and I can't blame them for this, but the job, getting the money, you know, that's what's dangled in front of their faces the minute they start standing up and getting strong, you know. And I've seen this happen time and time again. I don't know where CAN gets money to employ people during the summer, but there are a few people that always have these little jobs and contracts that are never posted. And I would really love to know how that happens, because I know a lot of people, you know, in BC that need money for these short-term contracts. Yet there are only certain people who are getting this money. So I just look at who's in whose back pocket and who's silent when they need to be standing up. And I can't believe anybody anymore. I have little trust. Anyways, that's all I got to say for today.